היו כנראה 80 לדעתי, בין 70 ל-80. לפי הראשונים שאני מצליח לעשות.
זה מפי, או זה משולב?
לא, המשולב לדעתי יש 80.
אוקיי.
משהו לא יותר. או שאם יהיה יותר תשתלטו על זה? אם יהיה יותר תשתלטו?
כן, אני מקווה.
שי. אהלן. מה העניינים?
איפה את?
היי, מה קורה?
לא יודע, מה נשמע?
שנייה, אני אביא אוזניות.
אוקיי, איפה את?
שומעים אותי טוב?
אני שומע אותך מצוין, את במשרד?
סבבה. תראה, אני חושבת שאני אצטרף מפה, כי תכף מתחילים, ואני ראיתי פתאום שהזמן לרעתי.
אוקיי.
אז איך הולך? מה אחרי ההתאוששות מאתמול?
אני עוד, איזה התאוששות, אני גם אתמול ישבתי עד 2 בלילה.
כן.
אז כאילו, היום בערב זה יהיה, את יודעת.
כן,
כן,
כן, נפילת מתח.
כן.
כן. גם אני אתמול ישבתי ועניתי על כל המיילים שלא הספקתי לנו, ישבתי עד עד איזה 12, היו טונות מיילים.
תני לי רגע לשלוח מייל, תגידי רגע,
כן.
אני עובר עכשיו למסך אחר. את המצגת שלי או את המייל?
אני רואה עכשיו את המצגת שלך, אבל אתה לא מריץ אותה, נכון? רק את השקף פתיחה.
שקף פתיחה.
סבבה. עכשיו, יש קודם מליאה ואז עוברים ל-Breakout Rooms?
כן, זה לא breakout room, זה פשוט 4 חדרים נפרדים.
חדרים נפרדים.
אז מה שאנחנו נצטרך לעשות זה... את יודעת, אני לא יכול להיות הוסט בשני חדרים, אף אחד לא יכול להיות הוסט. אז בעצם אני אצטרך שאת ואלי תפתחו את החדרים, ואז ברגע שהמציגים ייכנסו, תעבירו להם...
יעשה אותם קוסט.
כן.
אני אעביר להם הוסט, בסדר גמור. כל מציג יודע לאיזה חדר הוא נכנס?
כן, כי אם אני מסתכלת אני אראה, אולי אני אעשה אפילו, אני אוסיף צילום מסך.
כתבת את זה לפי הכלים.
זהו, בדף כאילו יש פשוט חדרים לפי הכלים.
נהדר.
כן, אני באמת...
אתה יודע כמה נרשמו, ישי?
אלי מעריך את זה ב-70.
80?
80, כן, סליחה, 80, 70. רגע.
נהדר.
אני... עושה צילום מסך. זה לא יצא טוב.
אז יהיו לכם קבוצות של בערך 20, שזה...
תראה, אבל אני מניח שאנשים גם יעברו בין החדרים, שזה
נכון.
היתרון של חדרים נפרדים.
שיהיה זמן להתנסות בכל הכלים, או בחלק.
בדיוק. זאת אומרת, כי תכלס יש שעה, אז זה מספיק כאילו חלק מהאנשים יישארו עם כלי אחד, וחלק מהאנשים יעברו בין.
אז בעצם ב-10:30 ככה עוברים
כן.
להתנסות?
כן.
טוב.
טוב, יואו.
טוב, אז אני רגע להביא אוזניות.
זה נחמד לגמור את זה.
מה?
אני אומר, זה היה נחמד לסיים את הכנס הזה, אה?
לגמרי, כן, זה יהיה מאוד נחמד. מה נעשה בלי זה, ישי? חיינו לא היו חיים.
לא, דווקא, תשמעי, יש לי כבר רעיונות לעשות קורס קיץ. האמת היא שלא יודע אם ראית הודעה ששלחתי בפורום של הרכזי למידה מתוקשבת, למרות שאף אחד לא הגיב ממש, אבל עדיין... כן, דווקא יש לנו הזדמנות עכשיו בקיץ, כאילו לקראת שנה הבאה, לעשות ממש קייטנה כזאת. אבל יאללה, שבוע הבא נתחיל לתכנן את...
נתחיל לדבר על זה, כן, זה רעיון נחמד. התארגנות לשנה הבאה.
אני רוצה לשלוח מייל למציגים.
טוב, אז...
Morning, Yishai.
Hey!
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Just saying, I'm just sending out an email to all the
All right, I'll switch my screen off for a while then.
I'll be with you in a minute. I'm just sending an email to everyone.
No problem.
Yeah, done. Okay, so why can't I see? Because I'm sure. Okay, Efrat, are you here? Tim? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
You're here. Okay. And Efrat, I'm thinking, okay. So, yeah, we have a kind of ambitious plan, right? Because, yeah, I set up these 5 rooms. And the thing about the 5 rooms is I can only be a host in one room. So you
Right.
can come into several rooms as you know, as a visitor, but or as a guest, but you can only be a host in one room. So the idea is that you go into your room. The rooms are kind of, and then one of us will come in and make you the host. Okay, and then you know we have the room open and you know people can join. So I'll just call. I'll just ask one of my colleagues to go into the room and make. I mean, you've seen the links in the on the page, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll stop sharing now. So I say, hi, Flat.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
So do you want to go into the learning designer room now and make Tim the host there?
Okay.
That means I have to go there as well.
So we'll go to the first room, okay?
It's not, no, it's not learning design studio. It's a third one, learning designer. Okay, you see on the page. Let me screen share.
Shall I go there as well? Because I can't.
Yeah, you have to go into that room.
The third one?
The third one. I mean the fourth. The first one is this room.
Yeah.
And the third, the one before last, learning designer.
Okay.
Okay, this one. Yeah. So you both go into that room, and then in fact you should automatically get the host permission, and then you transfer it to Tim, and Tim can make you co-host.
But I mean, Zoom tells me I can only be in one meeting at any one point. So if I go,
You have to leave this one, to leave this room.
Oh, so we can only do it. So we can't do it.
We can't prepare.
After.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought somebody told me that you can be in multiple rooms. You can only host one, but I guess maybe that was.
Let me try, go there.
It's probably the best would be if we would each have 2 computers and use 2 accounts, but yeah, makes it too complicated.
That would be an option to log in on mobile phone.
Yeah.
But we should be able to handle this on the fly relatively quickly, I think.
Yeah, it'll just mean that, there'll be a slight delay when we switch. Well, or it could be that while I explain to the participants about, the breaking out into the rooms, then you do it, right? So if I'm talking for a couple of minutes and then you all go into your rooms and if that goes one by one and makes you host, then we should be fine. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Sherry.
Hi. Do we start or we're starting in 10?
No, we will start on time. We're just kind of hanging out with the presenters now.
Okay. So I'll log out and log in 10, around 10.
Hello. It's Shirley.
Hello.
Hey, nice
Hi,
seeing you.
Shirley.
Hi, Shirley.
I think you need to mirror your screen or something, no? Or no?
It says wow at the moment.
It says W, yeah, it says WA.
Oh, it's the wrong way, is it? Hang on.
Yeah. It's funny because all the letters are symmetric. So you could have fooled us, but then the logo at the bottom is kind of mirrored. É fato, bom. E não explicará agora a mensagem. אתה שמתעכב, אתם מעדיף שיקרא את הכנס בשעה.
יש איזה בעיה מהקו.
מה הבעיה?
קשה לאנשים לזהות את זה, אם יש שני טלפונים.
שמה?
לא מוצאים כאילו את ההכוונה בתוך האתר להגיע לדף הסדרות. יש לנו בדף הסדרות הזה,
בדף הסדנות יש...
יש לינק, אבל יש בתוכנית לינק?
בתוכנית... אולי...
יש לינק למליאה.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Leah.
Hi.
So what beach are you showing us, Shirley?
I'm showing you the beach 5-10 minutes from my house.
Wow.
Wollongong Beach.
Yeah, wow. Looks like somewhere we need to visit.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today.
I mean, thank you for playing along with this crazy idea. We're expecting around 80 people, but you know how it was online events that mean anything between 8 and 800, right? So, I mean, we have registered about 80 people, but I think through word of mouth there could be more, or maybe some people registered and won't show up. So, it's kind of hard to know. But yesterday, I mean, we had the main day of the conference, and we started with 300 people, and there were still 100 people at 6 p.m. So I thought it was quite good. Oh, we're seeing the top of your head and the Golden Gate Bridge. Right. So I was just saying, Tim, we have a kind of a bit of a technical trick, because I thought that it's better to have separate rooms that people can choose where they go, rather than using the Zoom built-in breakout rooms, which means that we need to manage 5 rooms simultaneously, but there's only 3 of us. So what we're going to do is when we get to the breakout phase, you will each go into your room, and then Efrat or Eli will go and make you the host in that room. And then I'm afraid you're pretty much on your own. I mean, we'll try to pop in and out and see that things are going well. And also, I've set up a WhatsApp group for the kind of organizers, but I don't know if you got the link or so I don't know if you actually use WhatsApp, Shirley or Laya, but if you do, then I set that WhatsApp so that if there's kind of some emergency, you can quickly buzz us there. Yeah, I emailed the link.
Good idea.
Yeah. So I emailed you the link to join the group. Yeah. Do you think Laura's going to join us as well, or?
Yes, she is.
Oh, that's great. Wow.
Yes, and Sue Bennett also wanted to attend. Oh, here she is. But I don't know if Sue will be able to. So if not, she sends her apologies.
That's fine. Yeah, well, do send my regards, Sue. Yeah, remember we spent some time together when I was at the OU. But we never really managed to kind of, it was like, ooh, did we lose Tim? No, Tim's here. Oh, he just turned his camera off.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
There's something funny about the ball in the background.
You recognize that, don't you?
Of course I recognize it. Yeah, I love it. It's nice. It's an old friend.
Indeed.
But it's kind of a bit warped. I don't know, something about the image. But I don't remember having a telephone booth at the Knowledge Lab when I was there.
Actually, the ball is hanging now in the foyer of the Institute of Education. So it has upped its stage presence, so to speak. And the telephone booth is from a project called, I forgot the project. It's terrible representation of my institution. I apologize. But it's a project where you can telephone into the past of, so you can go in, there's a telephone, it's a British telephone box. So, and when you can dial a few numbers and hear conversations from the past.
Wow.
And the conversations are themed, but as I forgot the name of the project, unfortunately, I've forgotten what they were about. I should really have been better prepared.
So do you just listen to the conversations, or is there a bot that actually talks to you?
No, there's no bot. It's a box standard recording technology. It just plays back. But the telephone box actually has had a tour behind it. So it was at the coast, it was in inner city locations, and now it's permanently at the IRE.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Laurie.
Hello.
Laurie,
How are you? Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Good to be here. Hello. Hi, all.
I just closed the door of my room, so that, Hey, Nancy! Hello! Good to see you. You're muted, Nancy.
Good, yes. Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you, Yishay.
Hey, how are you?
Well, surviving.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to calm down in Hong Kong, right? I mean, I remember when we met in Beijing, then there was one wave of protests, and now there seems to be, it just seems to be getting worse. I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of the international media would say that it's getting worse. But I think for many of us in Hong Kong, we are hoping that this is the beginning of a more what I say, a more peaceful time.
Oh.
Because there's been just too much vandalism.
Mm.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, we don't know how exactly it would pan out. I think if the authorities were sensible, I think they are not going to be clamping down on normal things. It's really, last year, it was just getting out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they were burning down the metro stations. They were, you know, ruining all the traffic lights. They were throwing stone on the light rail and so on. So and they're just burning down shops. Wow. Also. So it's been really terrible. Yeah. I mean, many of us were really worried about getting out because of that. Yeah.
I mean, actually worried getting out of the house.
Yes. I mean, where I live, we have a sort of light rail system.
Uh-huh.
And you just, I mean, for months, we weren't, I mean, they destroy the traffic lights, and it's very dangerous.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's sounds crazy.
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of these, I mean, they barge into the legislative council. They actually destroyed a lot of the infrastructure or all the facilities there, and they had to sort of, I mean, to fix it, they had to use, I think, several, I mean, tens of millions to fix all that. So it is actually just getting out of hand. I mean, many of us were feeling that, I mean, I don't know, I mean, the police were a little bit, at first they were quite hesitant to know what to do. And even yesterday, I mean, one of them was sort of riding on a motorbike and just running into the police line.
Ooh.
And I mean, a few police were stabbed, you know, by the rioters. So I mean, if you think about it, I mean, would there be any country that would allow people to declare part of their, you know, the country to be, and I mean, of course there are some, but most countries would not want, I mean, anyone who wants to say, I want to overthrow this government. I mean, of course, I mean, there are cases where people want to overthrow the government, but any government would not want to tolerate that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But anyway, let's do something interesting. The learning design.
Yeah. So I think well, we'll wait a few more minutes, you know, before we start. Yeah, I mean, the official start time is in, you know, in 7 minutes, and you know, we'll give maybe 1-2 minutes more of kind of you know, politeness. But I see we already have quite a few people showing up, and we expect quite a few more. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I was just explaining to the presenters that arrived earlier, but I'll repeat this. Hi, Davinia. Is that Davinia or yeah? Davinia, can you hear us? Hello? Hello? Can you hear us, Davinia? Laia, you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
I think she now can hear you.
Can you hear us, Davinia?
Good morning, here I am. Yes,
Hey.
hear you well. Sorry I'm late, but I have 10 months daughter that is with temperature, so it's not easy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that we'll start with the assembly. You know, we'll start with, I'll do a quick introduction, and then I didn't think about the rollover, but I guess we'll do it in the same order that we listed you on the website. So I'll do the quick introduction, and then each one does a 5-minute pitch, and then we break out into separate rooms. The reason we're not using the Zoom breakout room feature is because I want to allow people to choose which room they want to go to, and even if they want to kind of wander between the rooms. That means technically that we need to make you hosts in those rooms. So what we'll do is that you'll leave this room, go into those rooms. Eddie and Efrat will go between the rooms and make you hosts, and then you can make them back co-hosts. And then you're pretty much on your own. I mean, we'll pop in and out to see that things are okay, and we open the WhatsApp group so that you can shout if you need us. And then we reconvene in an hour. Okay? So yeah, I see people are kind of gathering here. Anybody has any questions, or are we all ready for this experiment? Okay. So meanwhile, I see from the participants a lot of familiar faces and a lot of people that were with us yesterday at the main conference. If anyone wants to ask a question or say something before we start.
Are we still waiting for Diana?
Tim, do you know if Diana is joining us?
Well, she wanted to. I've still been in touch with her yesterday evening, and she was aware of the time, so...
Okay. So we'll wait another minute or two just to see if she joins us. I mean, we still have actually 2 minutes before we start. While we're talking, oh, sorry, I just realized that Diana sent me a PDF with instructions for the learning designer, and I haven't uploaded it. I just saw it at like 2 a.m. yesterday, so I didn't upload it to the website, but let's see if I manage to do it now while we're waiting. Somebody in the chat asked if they need to install anything. So I think, I mean, most of the tools are web-based, some of them do require installation, but then I think there's the instructions in the sort of tutorials and help files on the website, right? So, sorry. See, it's already 10, so maybe it's not a good idea that I edit the website at the same moment that we're supposed to start the workshop. Well, wait. I see people are still joining us. Oh, there's Dana. Hey, good morning. You're muted, Dana.
There. Now can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Great. Oh, nice to see you.
It's likewise. Very nice to see you and hear you. Yeah. It was worth, running this event just for the chance of seeing everyone.
Yes.
So,
we catch up with old friends. I can see Nancy there.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Nancy.
Oh, so nice to see you.
Yes, you too. What's that behind you? Is that that's the shield for Hong Kong University, is it?
Yes, yes.
Backdrop, yes. Oh, that's great. Yes, we won't get much chance to chat though, because we're all going to be in separate rooms.
yeah. Well, hang around after the event is over. And,
well, of course, I have another Zoom meeting after that.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
We should actually have a drink after that.
Yes, that's what we should do, yes.
Yes.
Should be having aperitifs with you at a glorious Hong Kong evening.
Okay, so it's 2 minutes after 10, so I suggest we kick off. So thanks everyone for joining us. I'll share my presentation. And like I said, thanks everyone for joining us, and thank you, of course, for the presenters from all over the world. I think it's I don't remember ever running an event like this with people from so many different countries and continents presenting at once. So yeah, we want to thank Dana, Laura Lodge, Shirley Agostino, Laurie Lockyer, Nancy Law, Tim Newman, Lai Abo, and Davina Hernandez-Leo for joining us for this workshop. We will essentially talk about tools and methodologies for learning design, but really the idea of this workshop is not to sit around and talk about these things, although each one of us can talk about them for the whole day, but to give you an opportunity to try out the tools and actually learn about learning design through practical and unmediated experience with the tools. So just for people who, I don't know how much the people who joined this session today are familiar with the notion of learning design, I always like to start with talking about what is design. And I love this quote from Bruno Latour. It says, design is turning objects into things, making matters of fact into matters of concern. So what it means is that when I design, I take materials and I fill them with meaning. I make them into something that really matters to us, that we care about, that has some significance for us, right? Now, I'll take that idea of design and project it into learning design, and this is just a very quick definition of learning design, but the idea is that we see our work as educators not as responsible for transmitting knowledge, but we are responsible for creating the conditions. And here I think I'm quoting you, Diana, that we're responsible as educators to create the conditions for someone to learn. So we're creating the conditions for an effective, enjoyable learning experience. how we do that, okay, then, there's a lot of methodologies and practices and methods and tricks and procedures that we've all been involved in over the last, I don't know, decades, right? So we're going to reflect how we do that through the different tools. So each one of the teams here, sorry, it's 4 teams, not 5 teams. Lack of sleep and I lose my count. Sorry, we have 4 teams and 5 tools, right? Because some teams are showing more than 1 tool in a way. That each one of them each tool actually manifests a particular approach to learning, to how you do learning design. Now these approaches are related. I think all of us know each other and are familiar with each other's work, and we relate to each other, but each team, it has its own take on things, and you will see that through the tools. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to go through the teams. Each one will have 5 minutes to pitch, so to speak, to kind of really tell us in brief what their tool is and how you use it and what the big idea behind it. And then if you go back to the web page through which you entered this session, then you'll see that there are Zoom sessions for each one of the tools. So we'll take an hour really to let people kind of explore the tools. If you need to install something, if you need to create an account, you'll have the time and you have the guidance of the people behind these tools that will support you. And then we come back, and for the last half hour, we kind of discuss our experiences and share our insights, right? So without further ado, I think the first team to present is Nancy with the Learning Design Studio, right? Yes, I'll make you co-host, or I don't even need to make a host, right? Okay.
Can you see?
Yes, we can see your PowerPoint.
Good, wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. And it's really my pleasure to be able to share with such a distinguished group of learning designers and tool makers, and also the audience who are interested in it. First of all, I call my presentation a genesis of 3 learning design studios because, in fact, I first of all want to pay tribute to Diana. Diana Lorillard was actually the one that sort of inspired me into this area of work. I met her the first time at an AERA meeting in, I think it was in Denver, I forgot. Yeah. Anyway, so I was in her session and she showed her learning design. I think it wasn't quite the learning designer yet. It was the first ideas and also the pattern collector, I think. And we had a discussion, and I thought this was really wonderful, and we did use some of her tools earlier. And so the problem was because their work sort of weren't going forward more, and we wanted to have a Chinese language version. So that's how we started. And since then, we've actually, so we started with the first learning design studio, and then we then had a learning design studio higher education, and then we currently are developing the learning design studio STEM. Basically, all of these learning design studios have the idea of helping teachers to design a curriculum unit. And so we have the idea of designing, first of all, the bigger curriculum unit first before looking at tasks. So what you're seeing here was our very first one. And when we were doing it, because we were working a lot with K-12 teachers who are teaching different subjects. And particularly we were working on self-directed learning and science. And so you can see that we can, again, I mean, like many of the tools, we have a public shareable designs and so on. And in fact, we've also made the tool to be a kind of like a sharing of, so this is a basic structure of our first one with the basic course information, where we can help teachers to think about the learning outcome in terms of Bloom's taxonomy. Also, because we were focusing on self-directed learning, we can look at the levels. We were able to also provide more customized pedagogical support for teachers. So we have a rubric on self-directed learning. So and so for each aspect of self-directed learning, we have a definition for each level. And we also, inspired by the learning designer, we also have a visualization of the learning, the task type, and also the mode of learning, and so on. And we also were able to make use of it as, I still remember talking to Diana about the constructive alignment. So we were using the Learning Design Studio to also capture the evidence for self-directed learning and also the evidence for STEM. So say, for example, science, technology, engineering, mathematics are the teachers. So we want the teachers to start thinking about what's the outcome. And then at the end, is there any evidence that they can show? And then the reason why we moved forward was because we had another project where we want to be helping the higher education and particularly MOOCs. And so we then started to do something which is more pedagogically neutral, but we still have the course level, curriculum level, and the task level. And I think there is a video on that in the conference website. And we've also kept a kind of like a designer dashboard to actually visualize the different features of the design, including the learning task type. We modified it a bit, and then into 4 categories. We also visualize the assessments and the learning outcomes. And then currently we are, we've started our 3rd version, because with the generic version, we can cater for many different needs, but then we lose the pedagogical support that our first version provides us. And so we designed a learning design triangle, which is also introduced in the video. And so we were focusing on also 3 levels of pedagogy: the philosophy, the pedagogical approach, as well as what we call the strategy. So so I think I've run out of my 5 minutes. So thank you very much. And I hope if you're interested to join us to explore further whether you think it's helpful to enforce and scaffold learning design as a multi-level process. Do you have a preference for any of the 3 versions of LDS? And what do you consider as the most important features of a learning design tool for teachers? So thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. That was fascinating and amazing how much you managed to squeeze into those 5 minutes. You've set a high standard. So Laia and Davinia, you're next. Laia, are you presenting, or Davinia? Laia?
Yes, we thought that we were the last ones. Maybe Davinia.
Well, if you're not ready, then Tim, are you ready to jump in, or?
I can, Yishai.
Great.
I have something ready. Can I share a screen?
Yes, yes, you should be able to share your screen.
That looks like the right one. And then I have to tell it to share.
Great.
Oh
yeah.
no, that's the wrong one. Sorry, that's about the work. Hang on. Oh, yes. Are you seeing Directory of Designs on your screen?
We are, Directory of Designs. That's what we have.
Okay. So, sorry about that. And thank you, Nancy. I remember just as well as you do that first meeting in ARA, somewhere in America, I can't remember where. Because that was the first time somebody else that I was presenting this to really got the idea. It's remarkable how difficult it was to get people to embrace and think through the idea of why a teacher should have some kind of technological support for helping them design a learning session. So that was, it was so exciting because it was a meeting of minds. And I think the way in which we and others have developed over the years since then. Of course, it was a very primitive version. It was very different then, but there's been quite a lot of similarity in the way in which we've approached these things, because we're trying to create a tool for teachers. We're trying to offer teachers what they need to be thinking through in order to understand what students need to learn. So the screen I'm showing here is the web page of the Learning Designer, which is the kind of menu of existing designs which are curated to some extent by organizing them into different categories. I'm just going to quickly run through something which is in my personal space, and everybody has their own personal space, so I can have my designs and I can also have my designs which I've made public. I'm going to go into my designs here to find the, so actually, taking its time. Okay, so, yeah, that's all right. I think I want to find, this is the one that we'll be demonstrating in one of the videos in the, when we go into the breakout rooms. And this is the presentation, this is how a learning design looks in our context. Now you can see some similarities with what Nancy has been showing, because we also have this representation of different kinds of learning activities, which you can see are color-coded. So that as you're working through your design, you can see what kind of balance of different learning activities you're creating for the student. These bits of information up here describe the nature of the design. So this lasts for 2.5 hours or so, and it shows you learning time, which is what it's meant to be, and also the amount of time you've designed. Because if you just go through designing what you think students need to do, you invariably end up providing much more time for them to be doing things than you originally planned. So that's an important check. But the main thing I want to point out here is that this design is written from the student's point of view. So teachers, when I would first demonstrate this thing, teachers would often say, where am I in this? Because everything you see is about what the student is doing. So the presence of the teacher in this first activity, which is called read, watch, or listen, probably one of the most common activities we offer to students in education. So this is where you might be watching a lecture or listening to a podcast or reading materials, but it's learning through acquisition, in other words, which is one of those learning types. So the teacher is expressed here as the person that the student is watching or listening to. So you're describing this learning event, not from your point of view of, first I'm going to go through this and then I'm going to break the class up into groups and so on. You're describing it from the point of view of the learner trying to learn something. So they watch the video, they follow links, they work in pairs, sharing resources, they join another pair and so on. So that's the way in which the learning design is expressed all the way through. And then the ways in which you can analyze this through the pie chart and other things we'll of course be demonstrating when we get into the workshop. But so it's a similar kind of approach to Nancy, except that this is all at the course, the session level. Nancy is talking right from the curriculum design and the overall course design, but this is just at that lesson level when the teacher is trying to think about, is this face-to-face, is it online, is it a mix of the two, how many days does this run over? Thinking about how the student progresses through these different activities in order to achieve those outcomes you've defined. And again, like Nancy, we offer ways of describing these in terms of Bloom's taxonomy. So I'll stop there, Yishai, because we'll go through the rest in the session. And I think that's enough to give a sense of what it does.
I think it's definitely enough to kind of whet our appetite and want everyone to come into your room. So there's going to be tough competition here. And Laia, do you want to go next?
Yeah, we are ready now. Sorry, before.
Okay. So who's presenting, the video or Laia?
I will share my screen, and then the both of us will participate in the pitch.
Good.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for us to participate in this workshop with the colleagues from different institutions, all of us working towards improving learning design and improving the tools for teachers. In our case, what we present is the ILDE infrastructure, integrated learning design infrastructure, that is really a customizable environment that provides a community environment with collaboration capabilities, collaboration features for teachers, and integrates multiple tools for the analysis, design, and implementation of learning activity plans. The technology behind ILDE has been developed now for about 10 years, led by Universitat Pompeu Fabra in Barcelona, but also with contributions, and let me show you the website of TIDE, the TIDE research group in Barcelona. This is a very nice team we have there. But also ILDE integrates tools and have been developed in collaboration with partners in the context of an European research project, and has been also incorporating tools in collaborations with other partners, other researchers in the field across the globe, as colleagues from Australia here, Shirley and Laurie. ILDE can be customized according to the needs of a particular educational center, for example, a school or a teacher training center. So for example, I have here, let me see if I can go to here for a particular educational center or a teacher training center, selecting the tools that are especially relevant for them, depending on their needs in terms of content and pedagogical approaches. It can be also customized for across centers initiatives. So for example, this is an ILD installation for maker projects for schools. And it can be also, a customization of ILD can be also focused for particular learning design perspectives. And this is the focus, for example, of our ILD customization for a devoted tool that is at Scramble, an authoring tool for blended learning that will be further explained by Laia in her pitch.
No, thank you, Lavinia. Thank you, Yeshai. Hi, I have firstly 2 reflection questions for the audience. So firstly, how many of you have taught using technology in your classes? Probably all of you that teach, right? And secondly, how many of you have documented these classroom activities and shared them with other teachers? For example, sharing what worked well and what didn't. So as some researchers point out, and some of them are here today with us, not sharing our teaching practices is like composing music melodies for just a single use. Without recording them onto a music sheet for others to interpret, places limits on how many can enjoy the music, create variations, and be inspired from it. If I ask you why you don't document and share, probably the main reason would be, I don't have time for that. It's a great idea, but I don't have time to document everything. But what if you had a tool that documented your activities with little no extra time? And what if your activities could be automatically stored as you planned and structured your courses? But probably most of you do this job every day. And easily share in a community of educators with one click. So we are Davinia and Laia from Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona, and today we would like to present you ILDE at Scramble, a learning design tool for teachers of any background, which allows you to design blended activities with the help of data analytics. It supports you in making informed design decisions both at individual and institutional levels, and to reflect on the decisions made. So, and all of this within an open online community of educators to easily share with and learn from. At Scramble aims to advance our teaching practices with collaborative technology. So if you are interested in knowing more about ILDE and NetCrumble, just visit our demo. We'll be very happy to show you how they work and how our plans are regarding future developments of the tools. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's brilliant. And so we have the final presentation from Shirley and Laurie.
And I'd like to share my screen, please.
You should be able to do that.
And can I say before I do that, thank you very much for the opportunity to participate today. And it's so wonderful to see fellow colleagues that we've worked together with over many years. The key idea that we're presenting today in this workshop is supporting teachers as designers. So the key work that we've been doing is looking at how actual teachers design. And what we've found is that they actually demonstrate design thinking, and we would consider them as actual designers. So it's really important that we identify tools to help them design. What we're going to show you today in our workshop is one of the tools. Well, we'll touch on two tools, but namely this one, which is Learning Design Tool, which is a way to represent your learning design. So it's a way to document your teaching ideas in a particular way that then can be shareable with others. And it can also be a tool that helps you reflect on your design work. We'll actually demonstrate that tool and work through that, our learning design approach in the workshop. From the research that we've done, we've found that this approach has really supported teachers in many ways. Here on the screen are a list of ways in which we've found that our LD tool helps teachers design. So you can see things like it makes their teaching visible, it makes your thinking shareable, other designs can serve as inspirations, etc. One key thing that we've found from the research that we've done with higher education teachers and also with school teachers is that, as I mentioned before, teachers are designers. So what they actually do is they work with a problem and they work in an iterative way to come up with a solution. So and they demonstrate design thinking as they work through what they come up, identify as a problem, which is a teaching scenario where they're working with, and going towards a solution. So what we found is that teachers use a variety of tools, which led to the development of another tool. And it's so wonderful to see colleagues here, Davinia, with the ILDE environment. So in collaboration with Davinia, we've developed a problem generation tool, which is essentially a range of stimulus questions to help teachers think through their design context and think through when they're thinking about design, what about their students and certain particular questions that they need to consider. So essentially our argument and our pitch for you to join our group in our workshop, or Laurie and myself today, is that we really think it's important that we conceptualize teaching as design. We think from the research that we've done is that thinking of teaching as design provides a holistic view of teaching as a continuous design practice. What I mean by that is that we've found that teachers not only do the actual engagement of teaching, but they're designing before they teach, they're adapting their design whilst they teach, and they're reflecting on their design after they teach. And by thinking of as teaching as design, we think that it offers a more sophisticated appreciation about what teachers do, because a lot of this design work is fairly invisible work. That is, it's work that's done out of hours, it's done at home, or it's done when other people don't actually see that work. And so the final thing from our research is that we really want to be able to find evidence-based teacher design thinking tools. So we hope that you'll join us in our workshop, and we'll go through the LD tool, and we'll also talk about the problem generation tool.
Right. So thank you, all of you, and especially thank you for everyone for really sticking to the times. Very impressive, and we're really so. The next bit is where basically everyone goes into the separate tools. If you go back to the web page where you enter this Zoom room, then you'll see that you have Zoom rooms for each one of the tools. So this is for the Learning Design Studio from Nancy, and this is for Ilde and Ed Crumble, and this is for the Learning Designer from Dana, and the LD tool that Shirley just talked about. So right now, the presenters will each leave this room and go into their own rooms. And the participants also, of course, are invited to go into these rooms. In case you need any additional material about the tools themselves, we've added, first of all, links on one side. And if you scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll also see some of the videos that introduce the tools. So if you're not really sure yet which room to go into yet, you can watch those videos quickly and make a decision. And we'll reconvene here at 11:30, so that's just a bit under an hour from now. I will stay in this room. So if anybody has any questions, or if something doesn't work, or I don't know, if you have any issues, you can always come back here, and I'll be here waiting for you. All right, so off we go. Yes, there are some questions about the recording. So we record this session, and we record all the rooms, and we'll make the recordings available. But of course, it's not the same as actually being able to meet these world-known experts and have a conversation with them and experience the tool for yourself. So yes, I know it's a difficult choice, but we only have 2 hours for this workshop, so yeah, you'll need to make those choices. ומי שרוצה לשאול שאלות בעברית, כמובן שגם מוזמן או לדבר. הייתי שמישהו הרים את היד, אבל אני לא זוכר מי זה היה, אז מי שרוצה לדבר מוזמן לפתוח מיקרופון ולדבר. כן.
ישי, לא ברור לי. אני צריך לבחור עכשיו קבוצה?
כן, אז פשוט אתה צריך לחזור עכשיו לדף של הסדנה, כן? ואם אתה... רגע, נראה את ה...
טוב, איך אני חוזר לשם?
אני אשים את הלינק בצ'אט, אז שיהיה קל לזכור איפה זה. אז אני שם פה את הלינק בצ'אט, רק שנייה. ושם אתה תראה... שתלך לצ'אט, אז תוכל לראות, ללינק, זאת אומרת לדף של הסדנה, אז תוכל לראות לינקים לכל אחד ואחד מהסדנאות. זאת אומרת, פתחנו 4 חדרים, אחד לכל אחד מהצדדים, ואתה יכול להיכנס לשם. בסדר?
בסדר, תודה.
אוקיי. היי, מנואל? לא, אז אתה הופך אותה להוסט. להפוך אותה לא לקו-הוסט, אלא להוסט. כן. בדיוק. כן.
So Tim, can
Right? Hold on.
יש מישהו שהצטרף עכשיו ולא יודע מה קורה פה היום?
איפה הקישור לסדנאות? זה לא דרך כאן? כי אני לוחצת על הקישור וזה מופיע לי כאן.
אני שמתי בצ'אט קישור לדף של הסדנה,
רגע,
ומשם את צריכה לבחור את אחד מהחדרים האחרים ולהיכנס
אבל
אליו.
אני לא רואה בצ'אט, אתה יכול להכניס שוב, כי נכנסתי מחדש, אז הצ'אט כשנכנסים מחדש הוא לא...
אז הנה, שמתי שוב, עכשיו את רואה?
כן, תודה רבה. תודה.
בשמחה. ונפגשים פה ב-11:30.
Yes, a few good participant lists.
Is Dietrich, I see you've just joined this room, and is there anybody else who joined recently and doesn't understand what's happening here? זהו? מדבר? אני כרגע באמצע הסדנה, אם את יכולה להתקשר אליי היום בערב, אני פשוט מעביר... אז מחר, כן, תודה. ביי.
actual time with teachers that they get in a normal mode of teaching on campus isn't all that much in a typical master's institute, for example. They get about 3 hours a week. Well, you might distribute that 3 hours differently. You would not have a whole 3-hour session. So this is how you might experiment with what you do to guide your students during the times that you're not actually with them, so that they have a much more constructive process to work with them when you're not there. So I'm going to pause there and see if there are any comments, questions, critiques.
בועז. היי. אני כרגע מריץ 4 סדנאות במקביל. מדבר עם הדס. לא ידעת, בסדר. אוקיי, ביי. Okay, I see people are coming back. Yeah. Let's give it a couple more minutes for all the rooms to finish and return here. Billy? Huh? All right, so how was that? I just want to see if everyone, well, not everyone's back yet, clearly. We'll wait a few more minutes, but, you know, we can kind of start sort of, you know, how was the experience of jumping between the rooms? I mean, did people stick to one room or did you move between them? Chava, yes, please. Can you turn your mic on? You're muted, Chava.
I stayed in one with Nancy. It was very interesting to get to know this tool.
Yeah, I would say a very good choice, but then they were all very good choices, right? We made it hard for you today, so good. Did anybody jump between different rooms, or did everyone just choose one room and stick with it? If there's someone that switched between rooms, just raise your hand or open your mic. Okay, I'll just take a peek and see if the other rooms have closed. Okay, so I see all the other rooms have closed, so I guess you know, whoever's still with us is with us. Perhaps we'll have a round from the presenters. Shirley, Laurie, do you want to start since you were kind of the last to present in the previous round? And maybe you can start and kind of share your impressions and insights from the session.
Firstly, I want to thank everybody that attended our session, and gee, 1 hour goes very quickly, doesn't it, when you're having fun? I think we had quite an interesting discussion, but I think it would be really valuable to hand it over to the participants. Ultimately, they're the ones that we are here for, and so it'd be really wonderful to hear your feedback about how you found the sessions.
All right, so let's do that. Let's open the floor to the participants, and then we'll conclude with the presenters. Right? So who wants to start?
I think
I'll just say, Yishai, that I'm so glad you recorded everything, because I really wanted to see all those other sessions. Look forward to that. Thank you.
I think that the Ed Crumble is just wonderful. I stayed all over the session, along the session, this just session of Laya's and Davinia's session. It was just amazing. It's a wonderful tool. It's very teacher friendly. I really loved it. I'm sure I'm going to use it in some of my classes.
Guy, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
I'm a computer science teacher in high school. I've been teaching for the last 5 years or so. Before that, I was software networks and security engineer for 20 years. And I've been looking for a good tool for class design for quite some time. And I really think that this coronavirus opportunity, I think, gave us a very nice opportunity to move forward and change our role as teachers. So I think it's very important that we get all the tools we can, we get and learn about all the tools we can get. And we're thinking about moving forward in our school to teaching from this distance teaching next year. And some of these tools I'm sure are gonna make a lot of difference for us.
So just, if Davinia and I are now planning the next round of development, what would you say is the first feature they should work on in terms of the next version of the tool?
I think that probably the only thing that actually there wasn't anything lacking that I could put my finger on, but I think the only thing that it's not their job to do, it's more of Google's job to do, is to implement a tool that will combine all of their tools with the design tools as the Ed Crumble does. I think the Ed Crumble has the ILD tools are very good for that. I'm using a lot of Google tools such as Google Classroom, Nearpod, and other, how should I say, interactive tools for my classes. And I think that this tool will be a very good implementation of using all these tools together.
Okay, thank you. Who else?
I have something to add. I was in the room also, and I really liked the tool.
Hella, can you just introduce yourself in one sentence?
My name is Hella. I'm from the Open University. We are in charge of actually give workshops to the teachers, to the lecturers in the university, all the professional development. We're in charge of that issue. And I wanted to say that I really liked the tool because I think it's a conceptual tool and it helps to organize the thoughts. I also think it didn't really miss anything, but I have a suggestion. I think that also our roommates said something about it. Maybe to collaborate the information from one to each other, it will give you, if you have to develop a more improved tool, a way to really give the best practices of what works and what do not work during the lesson. So, and I would focus mainly on the online teaching, because this is this is what we are all going to do, I think, for quite a long time.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? It's amazing to see in the audience people from, so Sakina, you're from Australia, right? And Michael from Ireland. And so it's really nice to see that. I mean, this is what happens when you run an online event, that, it's completely borderless. So who wants to add their insights?
I would. Gila Cohen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I teach Hebrew as a foreign language at Hebrew University. I was in the session with Diana and Tim with the learning designer. And I thought it was a beautiful tool. It was very applicable for us in teaching language. We pay attention to all of the different categories that are described there. And we have not taught online before, but this semester we all went online. And the transition to online, you know, it's been a very steep learning curve for our teachers. I think the tool can be very useful for us transitioning from, and I know that this summer the courses are going to be online, transitioning from face-to-face to online. So I would encourage you to translate it to Hebrew.
Yeah,
because I think
absolutely.
it would really be very useful, and it's much more user-friendly for our teachers. We have a lot of teachers, and it's more user-friendly if it's in Hebrew.
It's now on the list, Gila, thank you.
And I know that the Venus tool, the ILD actually, I mean, we actually started working on translating a couple of years ago and didn't finish that. But I think if somebody's up for the challenge, it's about 10 to 20 hours work and you can translate that
It's
tool.
not a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal to translate.
Yeah, so thanks for that. Yeah, anybody else? Tammy, maybe you want to say something. Or Michael. All right, so I guess maybe we'll go back to the presenters. Maybe Diana, if you want to share your impressions and observations, and what were the kind of key questions that came up in the discussion?
Well, the key questions are all the right questions, actually. I mean, the very first question right at the start was, can you take your design through to the VLE? Which of course is something we've been working on for a very long time. And actually, as Tim explained during the session, we have had some help from Israeli colleagues, as I think you know, actually. Ishai.
Yeah, of course. Nadav, who works with Meital, did a proof of concept, because you do export a JSON file, I believe, and he then built a plugin for Moodle that imports that JSON file. And we started a conversation with the other tools about perhaps having a kind of a unified plugin so that you can design your lesson or your course with any one of these tools and then import it into Moodle or Google Classroom or whatever tool you use to actually execute the teaching.
Yes, I agree. I think that's fantastic. It's very important work, because that is the obvious thing you need to be able to do. So it was just been technically more difficult than it should be. But it's great to have your cooperation with that. So thank you. And all the other questions were absolutely spot on. You know, they have mostly been questions which are on the to-do list. And what we really need to do now is to get some funding into further development. Not so easy, but
No, we all know.
Required us to do more now.
Right. Davinia and Laya, maybe you want to share some thoughts and impressions?
Yeah, Laya, probably you can help me. I was paying attention to the chat, and while Laya was doing a nice comprehensive demo of the at Crumble after I did my short one on ILD, because in ILD, as you know, there are different tools integrated, and we wanted to focus on at Crumble today. They were nice questions related, for example, to the importance of also facilitating printouts of these with the summaries of the designs. And we've seen that that has been very, really valuable by teachers. And then discussions on potential collaboration. So, for example, Sakina here, she's interested, for example, in the different framework that which I particularly like, but we have not integrated yet in a way into the analytical set of tools provided by ELD. Is the ACAD framework by Peter Guggia and Lucila Carvalho, and she's working on that. Therefore, we're discussing that it could be potentially an aspect for further extension when it comes not really at the authoring features of ILD and NetCrumble, but maybe to previous stages or after evaluation stages in the learning design cycle. So discussions on collaborations, also translations, and also, that we are providing analytical features in ILD at different levels, learning analytics, design analytics, and community analytics. So there were also questions to what extent they are interrelated, and they are also like present in the summaries that we provide so that they can support reflection, decision making. So these kind of questions, maybe I'm forgetting some, Laia, or anything else that you would like to?
I think this link with the analytics actually connects to what we were just discussing with Dan about, if you can export from the learning design tool into the actual learning environment, and then even tag what you export with specific, for instance, with the learning types or with Bloom's taxonomy, and then you can track those things and bring the data back, then you really get a kind of a full cycle, right? Of you do the design, you enact the design, you collect the data, and you feed back to refining the design. So this is kind of the holy grail, I would say, and these are things we've been talking about, this sort of dialogue between learning design and learning analytics, something we've run workshops on this and published papers, and but it finally seems like it's on the verge of happening.
Yeah, you know that in our case we've been doing that with a particular tool, is authoring tool, but it's for a particular, let's say, collaborative learning pattern, that is the pyramid pattern. So for that, we have a specific authoring tool to create learning designs that are aligned with that particular structure of collaboration. And this is not only an authoring tool, but it's also an enablement tool. So with that, we have been able to do research on the whole life cycle, supported in an automatic way. Because we're also doing some research, but it's, more manual, the different stages on how you collect the data and then inform the redesign. You know that together with the University of Valladolid, we also build plugins so that the designs in another tool, the collage authoring tool, also integrated in ILD, can be deployed and implemented in Moodle, different versions. That was particularly challenging technologically, especially because the designs are collaborative. So there are group formation, role allocation, and this is not easy to configure in Moodle. And sometimes the things that you can design in the authoring tools are not supported by the virtual learning environments. So there are many challenges there, and this is why it's not easy. However, we fully agree that something, more lightweight solutions should be available soon if we want the learning design to be further adopted. So we are also in line with your suggestion and your approach, and with Laia in the case of NetCrumble, we really want to be able to support, let's say, more lightweight in connection with virtual learning design environments in the approach that you propose, while we further research more sophisticated links. So yes, these are kind of big next steps for our community.
I think also Michael raises a question in the chat, which I think relates to this, that nowadays we're looking at, more and more blended and hybrid learning environments, where when you say that it's a challenge to translate what you do in the learning design environment into Moodle, and now you say, well, actually, but half of it happens in Moodle and half of it happens on the mobile phone.
That's another, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, in NetCrumble, you try to represent the both modes of online and or synchronous and asynchronous, but obviously there's a huge challenge here, which we're just kind of trying to scratch the surface. Also in terms of analytics, you know, it brings us to the whole area of multimodal analytics and combining data from real world environments and virtual environments, and you know, there's no end to this. So, oh, Laurie, I see you need to leave us. So if you want to say kind of a few words before you go, Laurie, are you still with us or you've left? Can't see you. Laurie? Is Laurie still here, or no, I guess maybe she had to leave. All right, so perhaps Nancy, if you want to say a few words. You're muted. You need to unmute.
Yes, right. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to you, Yishay, for organizing this. It's really a wonderful experience. I'm so excited to be able to, well, I actually watch all the videos and I want to explore more. And in fact, I have a few members of our team going to all the other groups. And so we will be having a debriefing after this. Because it's so exciting to be able to learn about the latest developments. And so first of all, I like to be able to keep in touch with the many groups, and so maybe we can see how we can have sort of further opportunities to learn from each other and maybe to collaborate as well. I also enjoy very much the 1 hour sort of parallel session. I mean, of course, there's some people who were going in and out, but there was also quite a good group that stayed on. And so the questions that the previous groups have shared are very similar. So they were interested and say, well, I tried using Hebrew on your platform, in that it doesn't really work. And I don't understand, because we use it for both English and Chinese, and so I thought any language would work with it. So I need to understand and find out more. And there is also the question about, say, can you link it to a learning management system or export the learning design? We've been because we've been using Moodle as our learning management system, we've actually had a kind of like a proof of concept, made the Learning Design Studio as a module within the Moodle, and we also can export the JSON file as a kind of the design to other learning management systems that can take it in. But we haven't actually tested it in terms of a real life working yet. And then of course there's also questions about, say, can we have collaboration, team collaboration, sharing of design and so on? And the answers are yes. But I think, you know, since now that we have so many different, well, we have 4 groups here. And so I think, you know, one thing I keep thinking just now was, is it possible to even share designs across the different platforms? I mean, I'm thinking about, for example, in other areas, they could have designs that are generated from one software being able to be taken in to another one. So I mean, to me, that would be quite a significant advancement for our field. Because, I mean, you think about it, I mean, Diana was saying, well, I mean, there aren't too many people who even think of or know that there are tools for learning design, or even learning, I mean, what's learning design, and even does it even deserve to have a tool of its own? And so if we can have some kind of like an agreed sort of at least a bare minimum of what learning design could be like, and I see a lot of similarities in a way in terms of the thinking across the different groups. So maybe that could be something that we can think about.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, because that really brings us back to the original idea of IMSLD, right? I mean, that was, I don't know, about maybe 15 or 20 years ago when that standard came out, and the No, it was very visionary and very elaborate and very kind of comprehensive, and it didn't catch on. It sort of nobody knows about IMSLD anymore. So I think either it was too complex, or it was just kind of too early, and people weren't ready for the idea yet. But I think we definitely need to continue the conversation. If we manage to find a way of kind of collaborating and sharing between the 4 teams here and between the 4 different tools, then we'll be able to set up then something that other tools can also. And I know there are other groups that are developing learning design tools who aren't represented here. So I think that's definitely something we can continue the conversation about. And I posted the link to the WhatsApp group if anybody is here interested in joining that conversation, trying to think about, okay, so how do we take all these ideas and actually manifest them into collaborative projects and joint work in the future. That would be great. So Shirley, can we go back to you now? And now you get the privilege to be the last speaker. So
and may I build on what Nancy was talking about and offer 2 comments. The first comment is that our LD tool and the problem generation tool is actually integrated in the ILDI environment. So you can access our tools through Davinia's ILDI platform. The second comment I'd like to make, and this is for all the participants, just to be really clear that, you know, you've experienced 4 types of different teams with different tools, but we're not in competition with each other. All these tools serve different purposes. And it goes back to the fact that we consider teachers as designers, but currently teachers don't talk about their work as design work, and they don't have a range of tools available to them that they use, such as that we find as designers in other disciplines. So a whole range of tools are needed. So I just would like to just reiterate that depending on the purpose, depending on the type of thinking, depending on the need of a teacher, you can tap into all of these tools to help you with your design thinking. And finally, I want to thank Yisha to bring us all together today to talk about this.
Well, thank you, Shirley. I have to say again, you know, I'm really, you know, I've been kind of working or discussing or, you know, with all of you, you know, for so many years. So really seeing everyone together and having this event, and also bringing the spirit of learning design to Israel. Like I said, even though we had apparently participants from all over the world, but I think the main bulk was in Israel. So hopefully this event will really have an impact in the local scenery and kind of help us to promote the idea of learning design. Meital has been kind of, you know, waving that banner of learning design for, you know, ever since I can remember, and we've had sessions about this. So I think for me, it's a big step forward. So yes, once again, I think I'd like to thank Meital obviously for hosting us, and thank everyone who joined this session, and obviously thank the presenters most of all. We have recorded both this plenary session and the separate rooms, and we will you know, slightly edit these recordings, cut off the dead bits, and post them on the event page. And the presentation that you use, if you want to mail us the presentations, we'll just add the PDFs to the event page, and you can use Hypothesis also to discuss these. And like I said, I've posted the link to the WhatsApp group. So whoever's interested in continue the conversation, this is just the beginning. And I just want to remind you, we have 3 workshops in the afternoon. So one of them is about, well, Gila, you're here, right? So you can, and Iris as well. Iris, maybe you want to say a word or two about your, you have a 30-second plug for your workshop in the afternoon.
Oh, thank you. So this particular workshop that I will demonstrate is actually an interdiscipline project that we have done together with dance, engineering, nursing school, and physiotherapy school at York University. I'm from Canada, Ontario, and it's about students with disability when they're teaching and learning hands-on skills. So what we found is really a lot of faculty, while everybody used their smartphone video app, students and faculty are really struggling with integrating them into the teaching and learning. And so I just want to showcase a brilliant way of tool. This is for our human factor engineer who have put all our work together to design a tool, a way to model hands-on skill, giving different kind of feedback. And we found that it has different kind of implication, not only for students with disability. So I'm so excited to show and share and get your feedback. And yeah, תודה רבה. אז אני מקווה שתבואו ותצטרפו.
And Gila, do you want to tell us about your workshop?
I'm happy to. It's we've been using VoiceThread. It's a tool for interactive, both for presenting material and then interacting with the students. I use it for teaching Hebrew. However, I designed this workshop for anybody, and I've been to workshops where it's used for many different disciplines. So it should be applicable for many different disciplines. And so I'll show many examples of how it's used. And
thank you. And since Tzachi isn't here, I can tell you about the last workshop in the afternoon, which is about Karta, which is a concept mapping tool. So note, this is concept mapping, not mind mapping. I think mind mapping is more well known than concept mapping is much more powerful and has very strong research support for its educational effectiveness. And Tzachi will demonstrate a particular tool called Karta, which allows teachers to give rapid feedback on open questions using concept maps. So those are the 3 workshops that we have this afternoon, and everybody's of course welcome to join us. Those workshops will be in Hebrew, so unfortunately our international guest here, if you're interested, then we can try to set up, you can connect you directly with the presenters in those workshops if you want to set up a local event.
Yishai, sorry, my workshop will be in English.
Your workshop is in English, right?
Yes, I will speak in English, and I'll do kind of a mix.
Okay.
In Canada, we speak English and French, but I can do French, but only in English. And as
okay, thanks for the correction. And so, yeah, I think we've all earned our lunch break, or well, actually, some of us will be having dinner or breakfast now. But anyway, again, thank you everyone for participating, and hope to see you soon and continue this wonderful collaboration. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.